Hello, so here we are again with another member who's going to share the recovery story with us today. My name is Marianne and I'm here with Joseph. Hey Joseph.
Hey Marianne.
How are you today?
Okay, yeah, I've been very busy.
Good. Busy is good. So, tell me a little bit about your life before when you started to experience mental illness.
Well, it's quite hard to describe a time in my life where I wasn't really mentally challenged.
Okay.
So I think growing up, I've always had perhaps people around me, people wanted the best for me, including teachers, but sometimes you couldn't really see that in yourself because being pushed at school, I wasn't pushed to the brink, but I was pushed to a level where I was expected to achieve. And
did you struggle with those? Yeah.
In a way, yes. Guess some days you need the challenge. Sometimes, some days you don't want it.
Yeah.
And I think when you're very young, it's a lot harder to explain to someone who's trying to size of you how you're feeling.
Yeah, especially when you're young, you don't have sometimes not even the language to explain what's going on. Yeah.
And perhaps I was never diagnosed with a mental illness when I was a child, but
yeah.
Guess people think, oh, you're showing signs of struggling. You're a child. You're learning. So perhaps guess all kids have their tantrums, and guess that's part of that's part of being a child. And I think perhaps I had more than others, but I sort of fitted the personality profile of someone who would have their weekly tantrum.
Okay. So and how did that affect you with your relationships with friends and family? How did you find life was in your relationships before?
It's quite a hard one because it's quite hard for someone who's naturally independent.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
I mean, you don't really feel the need to have like tons of friends around you because you feel like you can't really be yourself.
Okay, so you felt that it was hard to form friendships, not that did you feel like you need to act a certain way?
I mean, it's good to like sort of have a friend.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like good enough.
Okay. So tell me, how was your daily routine before you started to come to Clubhouse?
So I was in Spain living with my parents after university, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And then I was getting a bit. I mean, in a way, it was good that it sort of brought me closer to them, but in a way, over time, I wanted to sort of spend less time with them, and because of COVID, it was impossible to spend time with anyone else. Yeah,
COVID was a bit of a challenge, wasn't it? And did you have much of a routine, Joseph? How was your day-to-day? Were you working? Were you...
Well, I was still doing in Gibraltar doing my AT, so...
Yeah. And did that stop during COVID, or were you doing it online?
It was online, but usually we'll take one exam per unit. But because of COVID, we had to wait until a lockdown had finished, or at east, in order for us to take our exams. So sometimes we may be taking more than one exam at a time, which was unusual.
And how did you cope with your mental health during that time, during COVID, being at home with your parents, not being able to go to the university and doing everything online?
What was quite good because my dad sort of got into cooking and... Okay,
so a bit of a bright side there, not to COVID as well. Were you enjoying Dad's cooking?
Yes, but it's not the type of person it's the type of person who likes to do all himself, like a typical...
And what were you doing? Were you helping out at all?
Yes, I was. So I was just trying not to make a mess. So yeah.
Okay. So tell me, how did you find about Clubhouse?
Well, my dad somehow got in touch with Emily
Okay.
through a contact.
So Emily is a founder of Clubhouse. She's now retired. So your dad knew Emily.
She's sort of still working.
She's on the board. Yeah.
She hasn't packed it in yet.
No, not completely. Tell me, so your dad got in contact with Emily, yeah? And how has your life changed since becoming a member? How long have you been a member now for, Joseph?
I've been a member, I think, coming up.
Speak into the mic. So, Joseph, how long have you been a member?
I would say it's been at least, when did I join? 2020?
Is it after the first lockdown?
So it's nearly 4 years, I believe, yeah.
Yeah. And how has your life changed since becoming a member?
I think it's sort of changed my life, but it's sort of like giving me an impetus.
Okay.
I feel like helping me to sort of get into a routine again.
Okay, that's really good. So what opportunities have you sort of accessed in Clubhouse? I'm going to give you a little, I think you did a TP, didn't you?
Yes, I coding speed, yeah.
So you did a transition employment placement in Securing Speed, and what did you do there?
So my main role was invoicing.
Okay.
So I would submit some time. I'll be putting a sales ledger.
Okay, in accounts, yeah.
Accounts, yes.
So that's really good. So you did your AT, and then you kind of just so our listeners get a bit of a perspective,
happy with
no?
filing, and I was sort of picking up the and that sort of how. After a while, I can sort of picture in my head like where the different customers are, so of course it's nice. We were surprised when you sort of do a search around Gibraltar and you realise that perhaps the biggest customers are those who have the biggest premises.
Okay, that's interesting. So just to give our listeners a bit of your timeline, no? So you were doing AAT during COVID. You were at home. You became a Clubhouse member, and after a period of time, you gained some confidence, some skills, and then you did a transition employment program. So what's happened after during the TP? So the TP was about 9 months, wasn't it? What did you do after that?
So I sort of started applying for jobs and I struggled.
Yeah.
Had a few interviews.
Yeah. And we've had that conversation before, haven't we, Joseph? How hard it is to find a job when you have a mental illness and in the job market, it's quite complicated, isn't it?
So I decided to go self-employed.
Okay.
I thought it was just a waste not to practice. So
what you've learned. So now you're a self-employed accountant, aren't you?
Yeah.
And you do that in the mornings, and then in the afternoons you're here at Clubhouse, which is really good. How is your day-to-day now? Are you much happier than you were before? Has your life improved?
That has definitely improved.
Good.
Especially getting the business license after, which has taken so long.
Yeah, I mean, and I know that was kind of a challenge to get through, not getting everything in order. But you achieved it. That's amazing. Now you're a self-employed accountant. So tell me, what are your hopes and dreams for the future?
Where I am now, I think my hopes and dreams would be perhaps get myself in a position where I don't have to work too hard.
Oh, don't we all? Don't we all? Thank you, Joseph, for sharing your story. Thank you.